So, these last few days we've been giving the iPad Pro and iPadOS 26 a ton of love, and rightfully so. It got a huge overhaul, got more productive, gave us a bunch of features we've been wanting for years, but got it closer to what most people want, which is some sort of macOS version on their iPad. But on that same light, macOS 26 Tahoe got a ton of new features from the visual overhaul, a bunch of productivity features as well, that I definitely want to go over to make sure that you guys are fully aware of what to expect come the fall. So without further ado, these are the best tips and tricks and features that you should try out if you're using the beta version or when you finally install it in the fall for macOS 26 Tahoe. Well, alright everyone, let's quickly talk compatibility just so you're aware of who's going to be able to use macOS Tahoe when it does come out, macOS 26. So you're basically looking at any M-powered computer, so M1 MacBook Air and newer, as well as 2 remaining Intel-based Macs. So you're looking at the 16-inch specifically, the 2019 MacBook Pro, not the 14-inch, I don't really know why, but that's the case, and then the Mac Pro from 2019 and newer. So outside of that, those are the only non-Apple Silicon Macs or Intel Macs that will be able to use macOS 26 Tahoe. Now let's get into the actual new features that you could look forward to once you do install it. But now, before we continue, a quick word from our sponsor, CleanMyMac. So if you own a Mac computer and you've never used CleanMyMac, then you're definitely missing out. Every single Monday morning, like clockwork, I make sure to run a complete scan of my Mac to make sure that everything is good to go for the upcoming week. And now you might be asking me, Fernando, I could just empty out my trash by myself. CleanMyMac does that, but so much more. It clears out all system junk, removes hidden malware, and even helps you fully uninstall apps without leaving any of the leftover files. The 2 standout features that I wanted to highlight of CleanMyMac is the Smart Care dashboard that puts everything into one place. So performance tuning, malware protection, battery saving tips, and app management. And yes, it works with macOS Big Sur and newer, including macOS 26 Tahoe, which is still in beta. And then secondly, I love the diagnostic screen that lives up in the toolbar, letting you know exactly how fast your Wi-Fi is, how much space is being taken up, how much space is being taken up in your trash, being able to empty things from there. So it's just a holistic view and something that you can take quick action on directly from your toolbar without needing to open up the entire application. So again, if you have a Mac and you haven't tried CleanMyMac, I highly recommend clicking the first link in the description down below to try it out. They offer a free trial for anybody that has never used it before, and of course, you can sign up for their yearly plan with the link below. So big thank you to CleanMyMac for partnering up with 9to5Mac and sponsoring this video, but now let's keep talking macOS 26 and everything that offers. So let's start off with the overall UI because as you can see, it does look a little bit different even from the forefront, right? You have the new look of Safari, everything's a little bit more rounded, a little bit more playful, but the first thing you notice is if I minimize this, this does go from translucent to right up in your face, but then you can see that the whole menu bar on top is pretty much just floating. It's gone, you can no longer see that actual bar right there, which I actually prefer because it kind of just flows perfectly with the screensaver or with the wallpaper. Then you have the new icons down here on the bottom. So of course, the main first-party applications are going to be looking different. So Finder and the new apps, which we'll touch on in a little bit. Then you also have Safari and a bunch of other ones. And then you have some third-party ones, which are already trying to take that effect. For instance, the Chrome one does look a little bit different. Slack also looks a little bit different, looks kind of like blurred out a little bit. But let's go into our system settings and look at some of the visual differences in the UI. So if we go into appearance and you bring this to the middle, you can see that we have our different color themes. So of course we still have our auto, light, and dark, but the new one is going to be that clear tint. So the second I go clear tint, you can see that on the bottom here, we have the brand new translucent icons for not only the first party ones, but even the third party ones. We're able to kind of take that into account. And then you have the dark ones, which again, everything will go dark. I think if I just move this a little bit, it'll go dark. So even though we've had this dark mode, it still looks a little bit different just because the icons look different. And then you have your default view as well. And the next thing that I do want to show off is going to be the new control center. And I kind of talk about this towards the end of the video, but if you go into the control center right here, you can see that it looks pretty much identical to iOS and iPadOS. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's on purpose because at some point, it's all going to be one operating system, but it's probably still 5 to 10 years down the line. But you have the ability to edit your controls here, so if we press edit controls, you get the same UI as you would get, or very similar UI that you would get compared to iOS and iPadOS when you are trying to add brand new widgets. So here you have, let's say if I want to add music suggestion, add to control center, but then you also have the ability to add it to your bar depending on what it is. So for instance, if I want to add the same music recognition or maybe even voice memos to the menu bar, it gets added up there, and you can see that I have a little plus icon, which does allow you to also take that into account. Another good one here is a screenshot one, so I kind of want to add that one. can go capture screen, capture selection, custom capture, custom recording, which is actually one that I would use right now for this video in particular. So if I want to do a custom recording or screen recording, let's add that, and let's add that to the menu bar as well to make it very easy to screen record. And we'll see if it gets a little confusing with QuickTime and things like that, because I know that QuickTime is what does a screen recording, but now let's see if we have an internal screen recorder, which could change things up. And I know people are going to ask, for instance, how you actually remove stuff. So if you go into edit on the control center piece, you can just remove them by pressing the little minus button. So I can press that. But then up here, let's say if I want to move this, there's no minus button. You just grab it, drag it out, and then it gets removed automatically. So that is how you remove stuff from the menu taskbar or whatever you call it nowadays. And now for the first time ever, same thing in Control Center, you are able to add shortcuts directly on there as well as on the taskbar. So if I press this plus button, I can add it to Control Center, and then you choose which shortcut you want to run from here. If you want to run the Apple frames or start a conversation with GPT or just some of the other ones that you have saved on here, you can then do that and then run that shortcut directly from either the taskbar or the Control Center. So much easier to kind of interface with if you are into the big shortcut game. So this next piece is all about Spotlight, and it's actually my favorite update to macOS because I'm a big Spotlight user. So if you use Command plus to bring up Spotlight, you now get this brand new UI, again, still with the liquid glass kind of interface and kind of familiarity, but you now have the ability to go into the applications, go into your files, go into actions, so you can run shortcuts directly from Spotlight, and then also you have a clipboard. So if you use Command 4, you'll have a clipboard management tool built directly in here, which I'm hoping comes to iPadOS very soon, but macOS does have it. And then what's nice about this is that you can interact with them. So if you press on the apps right here, you get a grid view of all the different applications that you have, very similar to the app library. So you have your suggestions, your productivity ones, and they're all categorized based on what you use those apps for. And then again, you can interact with the other ones as well. So if you want to interact with the shortcuts, you can do that. So you can send a quick message and add quick keys as well, which is nice to see. Create notes, send emails, so you can customize Spotlight to however you see fit. And a good example, I believe, is if you type in SM, it's going to send a message. So you can tap on here and send that message right away, which is something that we haven't had before. And now the next thing I want to bring up is still in Spotlight. So if you have Spotlight search, you also have, like I said, a new clipboard manager. Now the rule here is that it's going to remember things at an 8-hour time basis. If it's after that, it's not going to actually remember what you're copying, but it's good to know that we now have a built-in clipboard manager. So as you can see here, I copied some text from this article, and it's the same way that it works before. So if I want to maybe go into a different article over here, copy this image, we'll copy the image, we'll go into Spotlight, we'll go over to the clipboard. Now that one gets added, and I can just double tap on here to either go back to the website or paste it however I see fit, which is perfect to see. So a new clipboard manager built into Spotlight is going to work wonders for a lot of people. So now Spotlight does also include shortcuts. So for instance, if I put in SM here and then I just press enter, it's going to send message, take me to my most recent conversation, and I can do whatever I see fit here. But that's just by default. So now if you do want to customize a few more, so for instance, if I want to add a calendar event, right? So add new calendar event, you see this new add quick key section, we type in here, and if I just do CAL, press enter, that's going to bring up a new calendar event. So next time I go out of here, let's go back, type in CAL, it's going to add a new calendar event, and then just press enter, and it'll open up my calendar, add new calendar event. Let's type in baby shower, and then boom, it's running it, and it's added to my calendar, which is going to be very, very helpful, and you can customize it the more that you use it. So now let's get into some of the new applications that we got with this new version. So if we go down here, we no longer have that launchpad, and now we have the app menu, which is going to be very similar to the app library that we've had with iPadOS and iOS for the last few years. And you can see here that we do have a couple of new ones. So for instance, we got the journal app, which wasn't there before. It was only on iOS. Now it's not only on iOS, but it's also on iPadOS and macOS. So you can start journaling and use it however you see fit. We also have the new game application. So if you type in games, if you guys have ever used Game Center, then this is going to be basically that, just a little bit more amplified by bringing up leaderboards, bringing up milestones and rewards that you can do, and it kind of manages all your games into one go, and this is kind of what it looks like. So it's basically just an app store and a management tool for all the games, whether it is Apple Arcade or non-Apple Arcade games, and then you can also play together with other people. Again, we're on beta 1, but this is loading relatively quickly, which I'd love to see. You have your library of games as well, all the achievements that you completed. So again, Game Center is still using all the data from before, so I mean, these are games that I've been using since like iOS 4, which is crazy. So in the next one, we also got a new application called the phone application, or I believe the calls application. So if we go into social, we got a new phone right here, which again, very similar to iPadOS and how I got it. I think this is mostly a foreshadow of possibly getting some sort of 5G connectivity on laptops in the future or macOS laptops, but again, it's just a way to view all the incoming calls and outgoing calls as long as you're synced across your iOS device, because again, this does not mean that your phone or your Mac has a new phone number or it's a standalone phone or anything like that. It still works the same way with Wi-Fi calling and call forwarding. You just now have a management window to be able to manage everything, and technically, you can make a phone call directly from here, but of course it's going to be going through your phone line and through your Apple ID, and it doesn't mean that your Mac Mini or your MacBook Air has its own phone number. Another interesting one that a lot of people are going to enjoy is that you can now export notes as a Markdown folder or as a Markdown file. So as you can see right here, this is a rundown of a video that has either come out already or is coming out soon. But what's nice about this is if I go in here, go into our files, you can also import Markdown, but then export as a Markdown file, and you can use it as you see fit. So it's going to be a .md file moving forward. Depending on who you are, it could be useful for you. And the final thing I wanted to show off is that you can fully customize folders now. So if I go into one of these folders, right click on it, and go into customize folder down here, you can now add emojis on it, you can change the color of it, and do whatever you see fit in order to really customize it and make it so it's easy for you to find whenever you need to find it. So again, the story of macOS 26 Tahoe is just a lot of efficiencies, a lot more customization, and just making it easier for you to make a line between point A and point B whenever you are getting whatever work you're done through your workflow. So let's finish up this video, but overall, macOS 26 Tahoe, good improvement. So as you saw, macOS 26 got a similar overhaul with their liquid glass design. A lot of their stuff looks a lot more fluid, no pun intended, but at the end of the day, it's still just as functional as it was before. Things got a little bit more efficient with the spotlight search shortcuts and a little bit more of optimization, but what I noticed mostly is that we're getting closer to a convergence between iPadOS as well as macOS and even iOS. A lot of the icons look the same, the widgets are starting to look the same and be more persistent. You also have Control Center, which now looks identical to what it looks like on iOS and iPadOS. The icons now have fluidity across all the different platforms. So again, I think Apple's master plan, as well as most tech companies that have platforms like this, we're going to have some sort of convergence in operating systems where at the end of the day, you won't be picking an operating system, you'll be picking a form factor and a device type and be running all the same things in conjunction with each other. But you know, that's probably 5 to 10 years down the road, but we're getting closer and closer to that. And leave a comment down below if you think that is going to be happening in the future. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. Leave a comment down below if you learned something new or what you're excited for with macOS 26. And if you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end. And if you guys want to watch more videos like this one, definitely check out one of these videos right here. Big shout out to CleanMyMac for sponsoring and partnering up with 9to5Mac. Highly recommend jumping on it, even if you don't have macOS 26 quite yet. That'll do it. Peace, everybody.